I'm just going to say, as a South African, from one to the other, when you say ball of kak, that sounds like a ball of kak.
Ball look like.
And I'm feeling good.
Welcome everybody to the Crossing Oceans Vietnam. Today we're going to be covering the first episode of a 15-episode series where we're going to cover all things Vietnam and expatriates. We're going to go over the questions that people ask all the time, the simple ones, the easy ones, the hard ones. We're going to get first-hand personal experience from everyone that's gone through each of these questions. And just to let you know, this isn't professional advice. This is first-hand experience. So even if we say it here, it does not make it so. Cool. You ready?
Let's go for it.
Cool. So my name is Jesse. I'm going to be the host of this episode. And today we've got Matt, who's been in Vietnam for a good couple of years. He's seen hundreds of foreigners come and go. He's seen all the ups and downs. I'm excited to get his first-hand experience. Cool.
Excited to get the first-hand experience.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Matt. How long have you been in Vietnam?
I've been in Vietnam approximately 6.5 years, going on 7 years.
Amazing. And how have you found your time so far?
Couldn't have wished for a better country to live in. This place is amazing. It's the food, the culture, the people, the experiences. It's just phenomenal. It's an amazing experience.
Of course. And do you have a favorite food or dish? Vietnamese style, not foreign dish.
I do. It's called the bò lục lak. It's basically beef cubes with some green and red peppers and some French fries in a nice garlicky tomato sauce. Delicious.
I'm just going to say, as a South African, from one to the other, when you say ball of kak, that sounds like a ball of kak.
Bò lục lak.
Ball look like, yeah. You got to be clear with the Vietnamese pronunciation, which I know very much. So, I mean, we were together in China.
We were.
And one thing we know about China is they have so many words. It's one word, one spelling, but the different tone can mean something completely different.
Absolutely.
Is that the same in Vietnam?
100%. One word can have 10 different meanings. For example, if you say the word da, it could mean ice, stones, yes. It could mean, there's a whole range of things it can mean. It's quite funny when you go to the restaurant as a foreigner and you speak to the waitress or the waiter and you say, "Can I please have some da?" And they look at you weird and like, you want rocks in your drink. So, the pronunciation, the tones are very important. If you want to learn to speak Vietnamese, I suggest, first of all, learning the alphabet because it's completely different to the English alphabet. And then on getting the different sound tones. There's up, there's down, there's straight. It's a little bit difficult, but it's not impossible.
Of course. Well, again, it was the same in China. I mean, the time that I did in China, that first, 6 to 12 months when I was trying to learn Chinese, the first little bit, it was terrible. Then when I started getting into the tones and the kind of words that I associate with English words, the direct translation, it was still kind of hard.
Yeah.
Once I'd left and I'd come back to Asia, I think I went home for about 6 weeks or so that first time. But once I returned, I'd obviously been memorizing, going over it, and I've been using a lot of words from China in South Africa.
Yeah.
But when I got back to China, for some reason, it literally just started flowing. And the more I knew, the easier it was to learn. And I'm pretty sure it's the same for Vietnam.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. One thing I can say about Vietnam though, I've been to a few Asian countries. I've lived in China, like we mentioned before. I've been to Hong Kong, I've been to Thailand a good number of times. And the difference that I found in Vietnam is that a lot more of the Vietnamese do speak English. If you in China, you'll find one far and few between. There's hardly any. But in Vietnam, you find them everywhere. They don't speak perfect English, but they get the gist of what you're saying.
Of course.
Hand gestures help a lot. Of course, you have Google Translate if you're really struggling.
Which is a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
That's professional advice. Get yourself Google Translate in Asia.
That's going to help you.
Yeah, that's going to save a lot.
But yeah, the language it's a little bit difficult. But like I said, there's a lot more English-speaking Asians in Vietnam than there are in any other country that I've been in.
Of course. Well, I think, leading on that, I think the reason for that is because Asia or Vietnam is a lot more progressive in terms of allowing foreigners to come in.
Yeah.
As we said, we've been to China. I know how hard it is to get into China. And we weren't in like Beijing or Shanghai. We were deep in Sichuan province where if you saw another foreigner, we were all surprised. We were like, "Why are you here?"
Let's make friends.
Of course.
Let's be friends.
But in Vietnam, it's a lot easier to get a visa, and it's a lot easier to enter.
Yes.
Which is good. It's good. I've been to Vietnam a good couple of times, and my experience in Vietnam is amazing, as I'm sure yours is as well.
Absolutely.
However, I come and go through Vietnam because that's family and stuff.
Yeah.
But for you, is there any plan to go home?
No, I will be in Vietnam as long as Vietnam accepts me. Vietnam is, they call this Ho Chi Minh City. I call it Home Chi Minh City. Like, this has become my home. I've got a good
That's
group of
actually
friends.
the first time I've heard that, and it makes sense.
Yeah,
It
it's
makes
cool.
sense.
I've been saying it all along, dude. I've got a great group of friends. I've got a fantastic job. I have my extracurricular activities if I want to do. There's sports, there's cricket, there's rugby, there's hockey, there's all the things that the Westerners would look for.
Yeah.
You can find it in Ho Chi Minh City. And Ho Chi Minh City is, even down to baseball. Baseball is a very difficult sport to come across, but they have lots of baseball. They have baseball leagues, cricket leagues, rugby leagues, bowling leagues. I know for Westerners, sport is a big
Of course.
big part of you
Of course.
feeling more comfortable and
Of
feeling more
course.
at home.
Of course, people need pastimes other than either work, socializing, and the party scene that is Asia, not just Vietnam. Vietnam more so, but they need something constructive outside of those time passes or pastimes, if you will.
Get
Having said
yourself-
that, though, you said you've got a good group of friends. Is that expats or just expats? Is that Vietnamese people, locals? What kind of variety is your friendship circle?
Well, I would say, I'm not allowed. I'd say about 95% are Westerners, but there are a good couple of Vietnamese. Once you get comfortable with them and they get comfortable with you, they invite you to weddings and birthdays and Tet holidays, and
Of course.
it's actually very nice to experience different cultures from different, not just the party scene, about the religion and the traveling experience in their holidays. It's, meeting new people. It's amazing. Like I said, I'd say about 5% of my friends are Vietnamese, but they're really good people, bro. Like, I've never had a problem with any Vietnamese. I would say the only problem I do have, though, and I think pretty much everybody will agree with me, and it's something that nobody can help, is the traffic, which is a bit of a schlep in the morning.
Of course,
And
you say that though, but it's not like back home. I mean, we come from a small town, Port Elizabeth, in South Africa, which is nothing compared to like Johannesburg, for
Absolutely.
example. However, in Port Elizabeth, you can still get stuck in traffic for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You don't get stuck in traffic here. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of bikes, a lot of vehicles. There's a lot of things happening around you, but it does kind of work. It flows.
Absolutely.
It's a lot worse. It looks a lot worse from the outside than it does when you're actually in it, moving through. Which is another thing, So you have your own transport. Was that something hard to kind of get used to?
Not at all. If you can ride a bicycle, you can ride a scooter or a motorbike, as they call it in Vietnam. It's basically, I'd say it's easier than riding a bicycle.
I wouldn't say that.
Riding a
Because,
bicycle,
you
you
can't
still
get
need to pedal,
you can't get whiskey throttle on a bicycle.
We
You
still,
definitely get whiskey
on a bicycle,
throttle on
you
a
need to
motorbike.
pedal, bro. On a scooter, you just.
Well, that's the problem.
And then
right there.
also, one thing I will say, fuel prices or petrol prices or gas prices, however you look from whichever side of the world you're from, it's extremely cheap. I mean, talking about South African rands, I probably spend about 80 rand a week for petrol.
Oh,
And I go to
what's
work.
it in dollars? I think that's probably about $5.
It's ridiculous, bro. And
$5?
I travel a lot.
Because I know that's like £3.50.
Yeah, I travel a lot. Like I do have a couple of jobs, because I like to make the money. But
Of course.
I travel. Some days I travel to work 3 times, and it's some of them are about 10 k's away, about 20-minute drive. But I mean, 80 rand for a full week of work, can't get
Absolutely.
better than that.
Absolutely. I mean,
Can't get better than that.
even in my short time that I've been here, I've been here a good couple of days, and I've done quite a lot of driving, back and forth, as you're aware. And I think I filled my tank once, which reminds me it might be coming up. So I definitely got to check that.
You better check.
Definitely got to check that.
But then again, if in situations where that happens, if you're in any sort of trouble, Vietnam has apps that are incredible, like Grab, GoViet, Be.
What's Grab?
Grab is an app you can basically use to order taxis, like cars,
Like
motorbikes.
Uber? Is it very similar?
Basically like an Uber. It's pretty much exactly the same as Uber. You can order food, you can order drinks, you can send parcels and packages back and forth within the city, of course.
Yeah.
They have a couple of those apps which makes life so much easier. Like you're saying, for instance, if you do break down or you run out of petrol, call a Grab, bring you some petrol,
Amazing.
sorted.
Amazing.
Sorted.
And reliability, I mean, because I live in the UK, I'm South African.
Yeah.
I live in the UK. And it was quite reliable. It was quite reliable. You can track everything, you kind of see exactly what's happening on your app.
Absolutely.
You see who's going to pick you up, you see number plates, you can see all the things that you need to see, obviously for safety.
Absolutely.
Is that the same in Vietnam?
Absolutely, they've even got a cause if you pay like an extra 2,000 dong, which is probably like 50 cents in South African rands.
Yeah.
If they have an accident with you, they pay for your medical bills.
Oh, wow.
So I don't think Uber offers that, which is I think it's pretty amazing.
Amazing. So, I mean, you talk about insurance for accidents. Is accident something that you've experienced before?
Plenty. But
That's something. What kind of accidents have you experienced?
quite a few. It's mostly my own fault. Driving when I shouldn't be driving, the wrong times, going down different roads where there's, when I shouldn't be going. I've broken a good couple of bones. I've broken collarbones and ribs and toes, and I'm pretty sure I've cracked some fingers. But it's medical here is also pretty good. If I was back in South Africa, I've had an operation. Had to repair my lung, and that was about.
Was that here or in South Africa?
That was in Vietnam. It was actually 3 years ago yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I had
Tell us about that. What happened?
I got a reminder on Facebook when I was sitting in like a dress from a gown from the hospital eating lasagna, and one of my ex-girlfriends is taking the video. It's like, how do you feel? Like, how do you like it? I'm saying, it's amazing. I'm sitting in a lot of pain, but it was amazing.
Yeah. So they treated you well?
Yeah, they treated me very well. But obviously, I wanted.
That must have been super scary, though. I mean, I'm sure you can speak Vietnamese, but 3 years ago, your Vietnamese capabilities was less than it is now. So going to the hospital, I'm sure you didn't know what was wrong with you. For them to trust someone you can't really communicate with, to assess what's happening to you so that you don't die, and then obviously trust them to repair you and do what they need to do and get it done properly.
That's going back on what I was saying though. Like, a lot more people speak English in Vietnam. They're especially the highly educated, the lawyers, the doctors, some of the policemen even now. It's the policemen are wanting to learn to speak English. So it wasn't that difficult at all. That time, luckily, fortunate, I had a partner with me. But I mean, the amount of money that I paid would have probably been 200,000-300,000 rand, because I had an endoscopic surgery. That's where they cut you open.
Endoscopic surgeries.
They put the mic inside you, they patch you up inside, they close you up. I was in hospital for 12 days, 12 to 13 days, in my own private room, TV, had an extra bed in case somebody wanted to sleep over there, like a girlfriend or a friend, to look after you. And it cost me about 60 or 70,000 rand.
Oh, wow.
That's for the private room, the rehabilitation, all the different doctors, the stay, the room. And I'm a bit fussy when it comes to food, so obviously
of course.
I've had to have, my menu was a little bit different, which I think was annoying to them, but it is what it
Well, at
is.
least they accommodated you. I can guarantee you right now in our government hospitals at home,
They're not going to give you KFC.
they're not going to
They're not
give
going
you
to give you
KFC.
KFC.
Which reminds me, what are the branded takeouts? Because I mean, in South Africa we have McDonald's, we have KFC, we have Steers, which I know they don't have here.
No, we don't.
They actually don't have it anywhere else in the world. I've been to America, the UK, we've been to China, Hong Kong, same places. No
So
Steers.
basically the takeaway brands are American. You have Popeyes, Texas Chicken, Domino's, which is around the road. We have Pizza Huts, but we also have some Vietnamese, Lotte Mart, Jollibee. I'm not sure if that's Vietnamese or not, but Jollibee.
I have no idea.
Yeah, there's a wide range.
And what's the comparison between outside of Asia, KFC and McDonald's, and inside of Asia?
So obviously every country has their preference on taste. The Asian countries, they enjoy spice.
Yeah.
They love the spice. Also, they enjoy a lot of, like crusting or breading on their chicken, and
You mean like crumbing?
crumbing, crusting, whatever you want to call it, and it's substantial. Like you'll buy a piece of chicken, it'll be this big or this big. When you get down to the actual chicken, it's that big. So it's good.
Let's just takeaways though, because one thing that I've personally seen, in my time here, is they eat really healthy. They eat a lot.
Absolutely.
Really healthy, family style.
Absolutely.
I've also noticed, because we've gone out with a couple of Vietnamese people, and one thing they don't do is, everybody look at a menu and I'm going to order this and you're going to order that.
This is family style.
It's generally the host is going to order something for everybody.
I mean,
they'll get a bit of input, I'm sure, but for the most part.
I mean, you can tell last night we went for dinner with Ruby and Jenny, and you can see we ordered our own meals and they ordered a couple of meals, and then they shared their meals, and that's generally what happens if you. It's surprising in South Africa, you get the family together or a big group of friends together when there's a special occasion, a special event. It happens every single night in Vietnam. You can go to any restaurant and there will be a table of 20 people and they have 30 dishes there and they're having a good time, they're enjoying themselves. They leave the restaurant half 9, 10 o'clock, and they'll do it all again tomorrow. Which
is amazing to see, absolutely. I think something that Westerners, in recent years that I've seen growing up, family is not what it used to be. However, it doesn't seem that that's affected Vietnam or Asians at all. Family is family. They live together, they stay together as long as possible, they eat together, they cook together, they clean together, everything is together.
Absolutely. I've got a lot of admiration going back to what you said. They eat healthy. They are extremely healthy. You'll see an overweight person far and few between. Like everybody here is their body's in good shape. I mean, you have 95-year-old women driving around on bicycles at 12 o'clock at night collecting cans, to make a living.
Wow.
If you have that sort of stamina when you're 95, imagine what they have now when they're young.
I barely had that at 35.
Don't give away your age, bro.
It's we've got to be real.
Yeah.
We've got to be real. But yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see.
I've got, like I said, the only complaint I would have is the traffic, but then again, that's my own personal experience, Obviously,
What I'm pretty sure what happens is though is if you need to be at work at 7:30, you leave the house at 7:10, and it's the traffic's fault.
yeah, but that should never be the case, This is, we move into Vietnam to be professionals, working in professional environments. You need to keep your head down, you need to be at work early, not on time. For me, my personal advice is be at work 10-15 minutes early. Make sure you have your classroom set up. Make sure whatever job you're doing, make sure you get there fully prepared and you're ready to jump straight in. As soon as that time hits, you start working. There's no let me sort this out. You get there early, get the job done.
Absolutely. I mean, you said yourself, I'm sure you've got a large friendship circle which is made up of 90%, 95% expats.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see all kinds of expats. You deal with them all the time. And just because people think that the job as an ESL teacher, which is what most foreigners do in Vietnam, if you're not touring, if you're not a certain skill set or a specific skill set, you're an ESL teacher, which for the most part is easy as a native speaker. However, people think because the job's easy, your effort doesn't have to be as much as possible. If you don't put that effort in, you're going to have a tough time.
Absolutely.
You're not going to do as well as everybody else, and people are just going to respect you less. Showing up for work 15 minutes early, showing up for work consistently, on time. You're sick if you're actually sick, but if you're not, you're just hungover or you're not in the mood, but you still got to work.
Yeah.
Your employer,
That's
the
also-
locals,
that's
they'll
also-
respect you.
That's one thing I also say. If you show them that you are committed and you're loyal and
Yeah.
you do things right, you get rewarded. Bro.
Absolutely.
There's like we say, go back to we living in China. In China, if you're an ESL teacher, that's all you're ever going to be. There was no room for growth.
No room for growth.
In Vietnam, there's plenty. They give you opportunity after opportunity. You just need to put in the work, prove yourself, and show them that you're capable of doing the job. And again, like I said, get to work early, dress correctly, be friendly, and
Of course.
Vietnam's a place to be.
Have you experienced foreigners that have not done well?
Of course. But that's basically, obviously, that's their choice. It's nothing that's been forced on them. It's just the way that they decided
Of
to
course,
live their life.
it's like coffee. Coffee is universal, however, it's not for everybody. Just because you think you like coffee doesn't mean that when you actually get to taste and experience coffee, coffee is going to be good for you.
Absolutely.
Asia, as much as it's sunshine and daisies as a foreigner, it can also be tough.
Absolutely.
If you don't come here prepared and put your best foot forward, have a good time. Enjoy Asia. It has so much to offer, so many cultural experiences, so many life experiences. You can gain so much from living and being in Asia. But if you don't put your best foot forward, if you don't do what needs to be done, you're going to have a tough time. It's as
Absolutely.
simple as
The
that.
first couple of months are obviously very hard. When you leave your country, you're not just leaving your country, you're leaving your food, your language, your friends, your family, your
That
culture.
support system,
Absolutely.
It's just
So obviously, when you move to a new country, it's a bit of a culture shock, which is going to be in any country you move to. You're not used to the food, you're not used to the weather, you're not used to the language barrier, which it can cause some sort of a problem. But once
But
you,
again, Google Translate, bro.
but once you get over those hurdles, it's a dream. Living back in South Africa, I would never have dreamed of going to Thailand, and now it's gotten to a point where one of the companies I work for say, "We're going to Thailand for holiday," and I'll be like, "Oh, what's Thailand again?" Can we go somewhere?
Not Thailand again.
You know what I'm saying?
How many times have you been to Thailand?
About seven.
7 times?
Yeah.
And that's just one holiday, right?
1 or 2 visa runs, but besides that,
Of course.
it was 2 visa runs in the beginning,
Of course.
and after that, it's just been holidays, and
Okay.
very nice holidays. I will say that.
Fair enough. Well, look, Vietnam sounds amazing. It sounds like you had a good time. It's done a lot for
I'm
you.
still having a good time.
I appreciate it.
The I don't know what to say. The rave about it hasn't died down for me at all. It's been good for me from the start. Obviously people have their bad days, their bad weeks, but
Of course.
all in all, wouldn't change it for the world. This is the place for me. It's a definite place for me.
So, what would just to sum up, and I'm not going to keep you here much longer, but 3 tips for someone who's just arriving to Vietnam or for someone who's considering coming to Vietnam to be an ESL teacher or just to experience Vietnam, 3 top tips.
It's a difficult one. You put me on the spot here. Be prepared. Be prepared.
But be prepared for what though?
For the weather?
Yeah.
The weather.
Yeah.
For the weather. Or obviously, working in different countries, the timing is different. You're in Vietnam, you go to work for a couple hours, you go home, you take a nap, you go back to work, you go home, you take a nap, you go back to work. So obviously getting your sleeping schedule is very important. You don't rock up to work tired and dreary. Another tip, just be polite and treat the people correct, you know.
Of course, respect is a massive thing in
Massive
Africa,
thing, massive thing.
And that, I mean, respect is a massive thing globally,
All right.
but more so here.
Absolutely.
More so here.
You're not
You
just
get one shot.
representing
You
yourself.
get one shot.
Absolutely.
You
You're not
get
just
one shot.
representing yourself, you're representing your country, you're representing Westerners or foreigners in another country. So
Of course.
handle yourself correctly and you'll be good. You'll be good.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. And those that suffer with stomach problems, you know, I know there's a couple of those. What kind of food would you suggest for them? Tip number 3.
Cook your own food in the beginning. You know, there are plenty of markets and shopping centers. The food is very reasonably priced. I would say you can go to the markets. You can get a 3 kg steak for like 200, 250 rand. You can portion it up, chuck it in the freezer whenever you're ready to cook. If not, then go to what you know, the KFCs, the McDonald's.
Of course.
You know, at first.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, look, Vietnam sounds amazing, and again, I appreciate you coming by, telling us about your experience, and I hope Vietnam is nothing but successful for you.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
I'm sure it will be.
I hope so. Cool.
Thank you
so
very much.
You take care.
Definitely.